Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM. AM 630. WMAL.
6:37 on the Morning Majority. The Brian's here. Karen Henready is in for Mary Catherine, who's still off. And on the line, our good friend Lanny Davis. And Lanny, I want to get right to it because the big debate politically that's going on in this town right now has to do with a Republican proposal to the president. You want your payroll tax cut? So you want that sustained and extended? We want the pipeline. We want the jobs that come with it. We want to have a reliable oil trading partner in Canada. And we want the jobs that will be created because of it. And the president says that's a deal he will reject. Is that a good idea for him to reject it or not?
Well, I don't know much about the pipeline. I think it's a good idea. I think it's necessary for our energy policy as well as for job creation. But there apparently are some environmental concerns. But I don't understand that it was originally approved and then suddenly the decision was changed. And now the decision isn't going to be made till after the election. That sounds quite political to me.
But just the political sort of deal here. I mean, does the president want to be put in a position where he's saying, I'm against the idea of job creation? I mean, this pipeline it's well established, would create thousands and thousands of jobs. That's supposed to be job one, isn't it?
Yes, but I don't understand the linkage because how do you pay for the tax cut? The Republicans have to come up with a way to pay for the tax cut because we have to start to pay as you go. I think liberals and conservatives are now in agreement. We can't use credit cards anymore even to fund a tax cut the way we did George Bush's $1 trillion credit card, which our children are going to have to pay.
I agree with you, but the president doesn't seem to care if it's funded or not. I mean,
he's proposed the way. That's not true. He's proposed. You may disagree with the way he wants to fund it. He's proposed the funding of a 3.5% surtax on people who earn $1 million a year or more.
Right. But my guess is that he would be happy to sign any kind of bill that extended it, even if it wasn't paid for.
Well, I would oppose that, and that money comes right out of the Social Security Trust Fund. And I've just written in today's column that although I loved most of Obama's speech, announcing that he's a centrist like Theodore Roosevelt, not a liberal like FDR, although the left of our party thinks it was a liberal speech, was actually a centrist speech, but that's another story. I also said he had one sentence on the deficit, one paragraph out of 80. And it's a great moral issue of our time. My children and my grandchildren, I have a 13-year-old and a 6-year-old. Anybody who wants to use a credit card and hand those bills over to my children to pay for is immoral. And the President of the United States making a major speech and devoting one paragraph and talking about tax cuts that aren't paid for, at least he's willing to pay for them with a surcharge on millionaires, which I think is fair and ought to be done. But we shouldn't do anything unless we pay as we go starting today.
Lanny, is the president making a mistake by spending so much time traveling around giving speeches? He was in Texas yesterday, Kansas this week. He's been in Ohio, Pennsylvania. He's all over in a lot of these swing states. Is that a mistake, or should he be here in Washington?
You know, historically, incumbent presidents have done better by what's called the Rose Garden strategy, which is to be president, look president, act president, let your surrogates be political. And that's the usual book strategy, campaigning for re-election. President Clinton did not do campaigning this early in the recycle, I would guess would be 95. He was fighting for a balanced budget in 95, and he started really campaigning in 96. I think President Obama makes a mistake looking like a politician, especially using red meat, ideological rhetoric rather than the kind of rhetoric that he used in his 2004 keynote speech at the Democratic Convention, which established him as a new politics above red and blue. The United States of America is the theme that got him elected president. Now he's running as a very partisan Democrat with very, very red meat rhetoric. And I think while that's revving up the base, and people like me who are, liberal, red meat liberals love hearing that rhetoric. That doesn't win over the independents that you need to win the general election. And I think he's stuck in the 40s, the approval rating in the 40s that he can't get out of. I don't care who he run against. we think we can beat Gingrich, we think we can beat Romney. But I also remember my father cheering in 1980 that the Republicans were dumb enough to nominate a movie actor who's on the far right.
All right. Speaking of independence, what do you think the ultimate, and we look at it from a macro point of view, the Occupy movement across the country, is this a benefit for President Obama or a deterrent for him in his re-election bid?
Well, it's definitely turned negative. There's no question about it that these folks, they started out with no message, they end up with no message, and now we're left with simply people who are obstructing civilian activity, business activity, and now police restraint in most instances, and some not, but in most instances the police have shown restraint. I think it has turned very negative if the Democrats associate with it, and just as a lot of Republicans distance themselves from the extremists and the Tea Party movement, I was one of those that said these are First Amendment rights people, and they're allowed to do and protest and assemble. But I think they've gone over the line now, and I do think it's turned negative if Democrats embrace it.
Do you think the president should say something? Do you think he should say, hey, you need to tone it down, you need to go away?
Yeah, I think it's about time for him to say, you're not helping our movement, which is a progressive movement, on issues. You're not helping us by defecating in the parks.
Well,
excuse the expression, but that's really
it's what they're doing. In some
what's
cases.
turning a lot of people off is that it's no longer about politics. It's about a lifestyle and stuff that people really, it doesn't matter what your politics are, that people are turned off about.
Well, it also seems to me, Lanny, that if Occupy Wall Street continues, they'll eventually get around to turning on the president. The Washington Post, had a report out just the other week showing that President Obama has taken more money from Wall Street and bankers in this election cycle than all the 8 GOP candidates combined. Michael Moore came out and said, Barack Obama is our man on Wall Street, or Wall Street has their man and his name is Barack Obama. So it seems like this could really backfire on the president.
Well, Michael Moore has never had a positive program that he's ever gotten passed in his life. He's never had to run for office. He's never knocked on a door. He's never won a vote. He's a great, creative, brilliant movie maker who doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to actually persuading people to do what he thinks is right. He thinks that scolding them is going to get them to do what's right. And the folks that are in this protest movement, as much as I do admire their commitment, they're also the people that scream about the WTO and you don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
This has not really become a political movement because they don't have an agenda that's going to persuade people to do what they want. They don't really seem to care about winning people over and getting change.
Well, it's not a protest, it's a vigil, Lanny. That's what
it's a lifestyle at this point. They seem to like to live the way they're living and not really change people's minds. If you don't mind me going back to the 60s, which is kind of where I began in my politics, there was a big division in the liberal movement in the 60s between people who were ready to cut their hair, shave, and knock on doors in New Hampshire to end the war in Vietnam, and it was called Being Clean for Gene, the Gene McCarthy challenging Lyndon Johnson, versus people who grew their hair very long, smoked pot, and thought that was the way to win over middle-class voters in New Hampshire. And there's a huge debate about that. At the end of the day, someone named Al Lowenstein, who was on the side of let's clean up and change people's minds, asked, do you want change or do you want to smoke pot? And there's a big question here whether the people on the streets in this protest movement, do they want to change things or do they just want to do a lifestyle?
All right, we got to leave it right there, Lanny. Thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us.